Well, another grim milestone reached, but this will be very difficult for the Prime Minister and for the Home Secretary, knowing that 1,000 a day crossing the English Channel has been reached so early in the year. Later in the summer, when we get the real flat calm conditions, then on certain days you could potentially get 1,000 a day crossing. But to get that so early in the year is incredible, really, and it just goes to show what a significant crisis this is and how all attempts at smashing the gangs thus far are not working. You're looking at shots there of one of the lifeboats, that is the Dungeness lifeboat, called in to assist today because all of the Border Force patrol vessels, all of the French patrol vessels were tied up. They were overwhelmed dealing with multiple migrant boat sightings. So the RNLI in the UK side of the channel and French lifeboats had to be called out to assist. 3 lifeboats on the French side, 2 on the UK side, as they dealt with boat after boat. And the latest count we have is well over 1,000 migrants who have crossed today, potentially up around 1,100. Now that will take the total for the year, if it's 1,100, to 14,700, more than 42% up on where we were last year. And in fact, this is a record since the Channel migrant crisis began in 2018. And it looks as though we are on course for a record year, a year that will even surpass the 45, almost 46,000 migrants who crossed in 2022 during that record year. We're well ahead of that at the moment. If that continues, and there's no reason to imagine that it won't continue with the same kind of ferocity that it has so far in the second half of the year, then we really are looking at a very worrying situation. Just look at those pictures. You are seeing there 2 Border Force vessels and a lifeboat at Dover Harbour queuing up to unload the migrants that they picked up from the Channel. Our producer in Kent told us that he saw back-to-back arrivals. That is the proof there on your screen, the confirmation of these vessels all coming in, unloading migrant after migrant. Now, of course, taken first of all to the processing centre at Dover Harbour and then on to the holding and processing centre at Manston in Kent, where they're supposed to be held for 1-2 days maximum. But of course, they've got to find them places in the likes of hotel accommodation or off into local authority accommodation somewhere around the country. And that might take a while. As we get into the summer proper, when you have back-to-back days where very significant numbers are crossing the Channel, then you're going to see it stacking up at Manston. Then you're going to see a real sort of bottleneck in terms of trying to get these migrants out to accommodation, if there are accommodation areas available for them.
Unbelievable. I don't get it. Why, just very briefly, Mark, because I'm running out of time, why were they not pushed back to France or directed to France? Why were they all... I mean, if the French authorities were helping and the British authorities were working together, why were they then immediately just brought towards the UK instead of going back to where they have come from?
Well, look, this is one of the most controversial and infuriating elements around the small boats crisis. As soon as these boats hit the water, the French will intervene if the boat gets into trouble and the migrants on board won't help. If they don't, then the French just simply escort them through the busy shipping channels till they get to UK waters, and then they're picked up by Border Force, or today Border Force and lifeboats. The French, we're told, have changed laws that will enable them in in shallow waters just offshore to be able to try to push boats back. But that could get very messy indeed. We know that when French have tried to puncture boats with knives, that has resulted in some very violent interaction between the police and the migrants. If they try to use their small rigid inflatables to push these small boats back to shore, I think there's likely to be very significant pushback from the migrants themselves.
Well, I mean, it's ridiculous because they're only perpetuating it by allowing them to just enable them to come across. Mark White, really good to talk to you. Thank you very much. So, of course, if you just tuned in, that was Mark White. He's our Home and Security Editor here at GB News. Breaking news that 1,000 Channel migrants have crossed and have arrived to the UK. New government figures show that claims by households with at least one foreign national have doubled to nearly 1 billion a month in the past 3 years, up from 461 million in March 2022. Foreign nationals become eligible for universal credit. So let's joining us now, Director of the Centre for Migration, Stephen Wolfe. Stephen, before we go into all of this and wondering why foreign nationals should at some point be able to claim benefits, I just want to talk about the situation that we've just faced with 1,000 migrants who have suddenly crossed the Channel, and when they cross, what does it mean? Are they allowed to... what do we have to provide for them legally? And how long would it be until one of them would be able to claim benefits? And what's the criteria?
OK, so there are two things. Immediately that they claim asylum, our membership of the UN Convention on Refugees and international law says that we must provide health, housing, a form of income for them to be able to stay, education where necessary, and advice for legal opportunities for them to claim asylum. And so that is why when you're claiming, we get all of these people being placed in hotels, and we get them being allowed to have debt-free dentist care, access to health and hospitals and education, and the legal fees that go with it. And I've just run through the numbers. I'm just looking at my spreadsheet that does the numbers with Mark's figures. That means that we're heading towards 55,000 to arrive this year. That will just in this year alone, for 1 year only for these people, £3 billion that we will spend upon them. But here's the big number now that I've been watching for a close while, and I'll give you the details. Since 2018, people smugglers have now made 997 million. They're only a couple of months away from making £1 billion in revenue since 2018. I'll let you know when they hit that 1 billion. So you're looking at people smugglers making $1 billion over that period of time. And we're looking at us making $3 billion a year just on the income, health and costs of that migrant, excluding housing. So there's no wonder we got these enormous costs. And remember, only a month or so ago, the National Audit Office said it's costing us $4 billion a year in housing as well. I want to add those figures. That's nearly $7 billion a year on illegal migrants. Now, dealing with your other point, is once they claim asylum and they're granted indefinite leave, the Home Office washes their hands of it, says it's not our issue anymore. It's over you, the councils, and it's over you to the Department of Health and Social Security. And that is why you're getting £1 billion a month being spent on those people who've now been granted asylum. That's a huge number, 12 billion a year. So when I made estimates that asylum and illegal migration is costing us around 24 billion pounds a year, we're getting close to those figures because it's 12 billion in terms of benefits, and it's nearly 8 billion in terms of the cost of them coming over in hotels.
See, and the thing is, these people haven't contributed mostly a penny into society of this country at all. So when Keir Starmer starts talking about legal migration, which we can control, at least people who come here legally end up contributing immediately. So they'll be working or they'll be doing something within the economy. We may pay something for them, but in the end, they may be a slight net benefit, not major, but they are not a net drain like this. Now, Keir Starmer said he would smash the gangs. Apparently, he's appointed someone new to look after the department. But what can he honestly do? Today, 1,000 coming, and the French didn't even push... They weren't pushed back. Apparently, they're not allowed to. They were just escorted towards the UK.
Well, Keir Starmer and this government, just as the Conservative Party before, face a particular crisis in terms of their international relationships with France. They know, and France knows, that under international law, the United Kingdom is able to push those boats back to the French shore. They know it, we know it. We won't do it because we're weak. Our Foreign Office is weak. Our Treasury is weak because they are frightened of the international scandal it will cause with France and the European Union. We know we can do this, and that's a capability that we have. The second thing that they can do is create a mass deterrence for people smugglers. That's Rwanda. That's being able to take them straight out of the country immediately they arrive and say, we'll process you in a country far, far away from Britain. We'll put you in camps and you can have Zoom or internet or whatever it is to talk to your lawyers, but you're not doing it on British shores. Those are the two things that would drive a stake into the heart of the people smugglers model. But this government and the civil service surrounding them are too frightened to even attempt it.
They're too weak to do anything. Stephen Wolfe, thank you very much. He's the director of the Centre for Migration. Stephen Wolfe, thank you very much.